A god named Sparkles?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to NYC Actors Talk Spider-Man. I'm Hunter.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Mouktar.
Welcome, Mouktar Aly.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Special guests, very special guests.
Very special guest.
We have won you on the show for a while now. You're a good friend of mine. Some would say great. Some would say amazing.
Oh,
amazing.
I would have said spectacular, but you know.
Spider-Man. I see. That's why we're not spectacular best friends. Because I only go to amazing with you. But yeah, speaking of amazing, we're talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2 today. I'm so excited to talk about this movie, not just with you, Hunter LaSalle, as always, but with you, Mouktar, because we have a very interesting relationship with this movie.
Oh yeah, I would argue the best relationship with this movie.
Best relationship. I think that was the beginning of me like talking deeply about movies with anyone.
Yeah, I mean, that movie awoke something in me that I didn't know I had.
Yeah, it awoke something, all right. It really did. And we'll get into it. But before we get into it, just a few behind the scenes kind of facts about it. So obviously this was back in the day, 2014, a huge sequel. Everyone was highly anticipating it after the first movie. People liked it. We already talked about, Hunter thought it was okay. I thought it was pretty bad, but as a whole, people wanted more and clearly liked what they saw, right? And they were like, oh, is he gonna find Uncle Ben's killer, Peter Parker? Is he gonna find out about like who his parents really are, like them and like Oscorp and whatnot? So that was like the hook, right? That was a hook in the marketing for that first one. And kind of the hook for this one too, like, okay, you're gonna find out. This is the movie you're gonna figure out. What were they doing? What were Peter Parker's parents doing? Peter Parker's parents, come on, And so we're gonna find out in this episode, in this movie. So just in general, but yeah. So to start off, they had huge plans for this franchise that obviously never saw the light of day after this movie. But they wanted to make a third one, they wanted to make a fourth one, and they wanted to make a Sinister Six spin-off movie. None of those things happened. And in some ways, some of those things might be in a different Spider-Man movie that is coming out pretty soon. So that's interesting. But yeah, so yeah, they had all these plans. They were gonna make like a Venom. Well, they did make a Venom movie, but like a Venom movie, I guess, like in this universe. And like there were rumors that there was gonna be an Aunt May movie. Do you remember that?
I do not remember that. I wish you didn't tell me.
What would that movie be?
Her being the laundry sheriff, I guess. I don't know.
The laundry sheriff.
Is that her alter ego? Okay, laundry sheriff. Yeah, and Andrew Garfield's only in the movie a little bit, just going like, okay, laundry sheriff. Sinister Six, which they clearly set up here, about like all these villains. Like, I don't know. I guess it would be something like Suicide Squad. That's what we got with Suicide Squad. So I guess that's what they were going to try to do with that movie. But yeah, once again, none of these things happened. And, so the infamous like Sony hack happened, if you remember, where like all their emails were leaked. That now we know what they were thinking. They were talking about, and it's pretty hilarious, like some of the emails about like what they thought was like what people liked about Spider-Man and everything like that. But basically Andrew Garfield was like at the time like kind of speaking out of the production studio of Sony. And so like they were having emails about like, we should fire this guy, right? And so like after this movie, there's a lot of tensions between them, and basically they fired him like in an email. They fired this iteration of Spider-Man in in an email, just like, you're fired. And it's like, whoa, I feel so bad for him. Like, think about it. Like, a character you've always wanted to play since you were 3. And then, like, because, I don't know, you are either just like speaking your mind or like trying to make the franchise better or whatever, trying to talk with Sony, whatever, Sony being the greedy, the greedy corporation that they are, they were like, oh, yeah, Andrew, you're fired. It sucks.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I didn't know. I just thought that like the series got canned. I didn't know that they fired him. So they fired him before they canned it?
Yeah, well, I think it was a whole thing, just kind of like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movies and Sam Raimi. It was kind of like, at the end, just like so much creative differences that they were just like, pull the plug. We're going to set the next Spider-Man movies in the MCU. So another reset after this. It's just like, like they make the same mistakes over and over and over and over.
Yeah, I remember being very upset when they canceled this. I was really upset.
Yeah.
So upset that I still haven't seen the Tom Holland ones.
I know, you still haven't seen them, and you will now very soon.
Yes.
It looked promising. Like, all the things considered, it was like exciting to see what they could do with these characters, So like, yeah, man, Andrew Garfield getting canned sucked, but look at where we are now because of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and with this, we'll talk about in those movies, in those episodes, but like, yeah, like there are pros and cons to this Spider-Man 2 in the MCU, and then there's so many interesting things about that franchise now, and in a lot of ways, especially after this movie, like it or not, a lot of people really wanted like a change. They were like, oh, not quite this. Like this was, I think, the lowest grossing Spider-Man movie. I think it still is. And like they had these expectations, like, oh, it's it should make like over $1 billion. It didn't, and then like that was also a big part of it. Like, okay, I guess we got to move on.
I think Into the Spider-Verse might actually be the lowest grossing, which is ridiculous because it's arguably one of the greatest ones. But that's beside the point.
That is actually the truth. I guess maybe it's more just like live action, maybe.
Yeah, know. Live action,
or at least or at least like it didn't make all of its money back because it was such the budget was so high.
Budget was so high, and return was not that high. It might be like the lowest rated Spider-Man of the live actions. I don't know if it beats out Spider-Man 3. I haven't looked at the ratings myself, but it wouldn't surprise me if you said Amazing Spider-Man 2 was the lowest rated Spider-Man live action film. I wouldn't blink. I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, let me check that right now. Let me see. 52% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now let's see what Spider-Man 3 has.
3%.
3%. 63. So I think it's the lowest rated Spider-Man movie. So there we go. But yeah, so I find that stuff like super interesting, like what could have been, what they wanted to do. They really wanted this to be their MCU, like, oh, it like this big expansive universe, but it's just Spider-Man's corner of the universe. Like it's like, I don't know. At the end of the day, and we'll get into it later, but like, I like now that he is a part of this expansive MCU universe, and he's like just this kind of small corner of it, a small part of it, which I like. But yeah, what else is there to say? They cut so many scenes from the movie, especially with Dane DeHaan's Gobby. And I'm very less enthusiastic about his copy, as we'll get into. But Peter.
Come on, that's the greatest on-camera green copy. How could you not like that?
Come on, Hunter, you love him, right?
Yeah. Look, I have a lot of hot takes about this movie.
Yeah, that's true. You do have hot takes, I'm sure.
Yeah, I do.
But there were going to be scenes with like him and Felicia some more in the movie, who eventually turns out to be Black Cat in the Spider-Man universe. There was going to be an alternate kind of post-credit scene, because if you remember, Mukhtar, I'm you might remember this too, Hunter, but like in the theaters, when it was playing in theaters, the post-credit scene was a scene from X-Men Days of Future Past, a Fox movie.
Yeah, it was a teaser. It was a teaser for Days of Future Past. They were just like, yeah, we'll show that because we don't actually have a post-credit scene.
Which makes no sense to me, because it's not even the same universe.
Yeah, just don't have one.
Just don't have one.
You don't have one.
Because I was going to say, because instead of, so they did that, right? And what they were going to do with the post-credit scene originally was, and I think they filmed it too, where like, you know how in when Norman Osborn dies, right? And you see that like they're like scanning his body or whatever. I don't know if you noticed that, but there's like a green light and it's scanning the body in his bed, right? And it goes to like his neck, right? If you remember that. Well, the after credit scene was going to be, oh, his head is in a jar and he's still alive.
That was a real thing that they wanted to do.
That was a real thing.
And like, someone's like, if you watch the scene again, you'll see that they're wheeling something away in a jar. What's in that jar? Remember that?
I remember that.
Maybe I'm not upset this whole thing got canceled. Maybe I'm not upset. What were they gonna do? Oh God.
What, you don't like floating head Norman Osborn being the true villain? Come on.
Oh man.
Ooh,
Are you in or are you out?
Palpatine is back.
Somehow Norman Osborn has returned. Oh wait, that's No Way Home. Somehow. So and we have all these scenes that they filmed. Mary Jane was in the movie, and they cut all those scenes. Shailene Woodley played her, and there was a bunch of scenes like with her and Peter and her and Emma Stone. And they're all cut. And I get it though, because I actually agree. They said like, yeah, there's too much going on. I'm like, yeah, there's too much going on. So you cut just that stuff. Interesting. Okay. No, but they acknowledged that too much was going on, but they still had so much.
I don't understand what they were trying to do with that then. Like, were they trying to do like a love triangle?
No, I think they were, I'm guessing anyway, there was just like showing like, okay, Mary Jane is around. Maybe she'll like be a love interest in the next one, that kind of thing. Like it's just a really long setup.
The vacancy was there. So, you know, having MJ as like a shoulder to lean on in the next movie that leads into something, I could see that as like a planting that seed now, just showing that she's like a reliable friend early on.
Right, because maybe if this movie was just about like Electro and the relationship of Gwen and Peter, maybe there would have been time for that. But because we have like so many things plus all that, it's just like, yeah, I get it. But also like, there's a lot more to cut, I think. But anyway, before we talk about our thoughts, or my thoughts specifically, because it's seeping through right now. How do we all feel about The Amazing Spider-Man 2? So I'll start with you, Hunter, since you got some hot takes.
All right, gentleman. I like this movie. I turned it on this morning, and I was like, you know what? Because I remember seeing it when it came out in theaters, and I was like, I liked that. And now this time around, I was really ready to hate it because everybody doesn't really like this movie. And I was like, this movie's fun as hell. I really enjoyed myself watching it. I understand, though, that there's a lot going on and a lot that I don't necessarily care about and a lot that's forced. But I have a good time watching it.
Okay, that's fair.
Those are my initial thoughts.
Absolutely. Mukhtar, you have rewatched the movie.
I've rewatched it several times since it came out. Yeah, since
me too. Yeah. We watched it in theaters many times. I'm pretty sure we watched it like the day it dropped. I think we saw it in theaters like 4 times.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We saw it a significant amount of times, and I remember walking home with you, like because we went to the theater by my house where I was living at the time. I remember walking home with you with like a big smile on my face as we left the theater. And the more I thought about this movie, I kept stopping us and being like, wait. And like by the time I got back, like I was opening my door, I was visibly upset the more I thought about the movie. I will say, like, watching it is lighthearted. It's fun. Like, if you just watch it to watch it, it's good. But then when you think about all the things that could have been and everything like surrounding it, like the Amazing Spider-Man 1 before that and what would have came after, that's when you start getting really upset about it. Watching it by itself, it is so fun. The movie starts off on such a good note, and it maintains a lightheartedness throughout. And even when it gets deeper and deeper, there's still like jokes thrown in here and there. It's initial thoughts for the movie is that it's an enjoyable film. It's just not an enjoyable Spider-Man film because we've been tainted by such good Spider-Man. And I say this as someone whose favorite Spider-Man film is Spider-Man 3. I'm like cringe in that regard. Like, it is fine. I understand that. I accept that. The internet hates me because of it.
It's okay. We like it. Me and Hunter like it. We like it.
Good. Thank God. But it's like, if that movie had too much going on, and I look at Amazing Spider-Man 2 and say this had too much going on, then you know that there's something about Amazing Spider-Man 2 that they probably should have cut.
Great thoughts. That's kind of almost exactly how I feel. I mean, yeah, because in the moment watching this is better than the first Amazing Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like, this is fun. Like, I like Andrew Garfield more in this movie. Like, that's why I can't wait for him to possibly come back in No Way Home, because it's like, okay, I see the potential here. He can be a good Spider-Man. He's just in a terrible Spider-Man movie. But yeah, you're right. It's fun. This movie's so frustrating to me because there's so many things I don't like about it, but there's also things I do. And so, like, I can't just like be like, I just can't ignore the things I like, because that's not fair. But also, I can't also ignore like all the enormous problems it has about just with the character of Spider-Man, with all the villains, Gwen Stacy, everyone's a fucking idiot in this movie. Like, there's so much to talk about story-wise that's just so frustrating to me. But then you have scenes where he's being Spider-Man, where he's fighting the Rhino, and that's fun. That's really fucking fun. And when he's, helping that kid out with his science project, and he, the kid comes back later, it's like, fuck, you actually feel a little bit there. And I can't say that about the first Amazing Spider-Man. I don't feel anything about that movie. That movie is like, set up the movie and it's boring and dull. Lizard is stupid and doesn't have a personality. This movie, as dumb as it fucking is, has personality. It's a weird fucking personality, but it's something. It's like the Venom movies for me. It's like dumb as fuck, but like, you know what? It was watchable. I got through it very easy, actually. And I there were moments that, I was like kind of nostalgic for it. I was like, oh, like, I remember that, like when me and you, Mouktar, when we watched it, like, this is kind of like my childhood Spider-Man movie, even though like there are much better ones out there. But yeah, so it's frustrating. I don't like it, but I also do. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I see that. And about the first one, like, I cried twice watching this movie. And also how you said that it's an easy, like, you got through it easy. It's a 2.5 hour movie. There's not a lot of movies that are 2.5 hours that you're like, all right, when's this over? You know what I mean? So I think there's something to be said about that.
I mean, it is, that's definitely true, but in a way it sacrifices so much for that like frenetic pace. But yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
So I will say though, when we start the movie, it's probably the worst first 10 minutes of any Spider-Man movie probably ever. It starts with the parents and oh, come on. Yeah. Mouktar's like, what?
I forgot. I just watched it. So you know what? Here, let's talk about that for a second really quick, because I just watched it. I just watched the beginning and I completely forgot about the parents stuff at the beginning. I was like, what are you talking about? He flies in from outer space. He stops like a truck. That's an amazing first 10 minutes. No, you're absolutely right. It's actually the dad being like, I made a mistake. Also, sorry.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
go, because I have so much to talk about that first sequence.
No. Yeah, let me just get through this first 10 minutes because I hate it so much. I was like bored. I was like, this is a Spider-Man movie? What the fuck is this? It was like a spy, like espionage thing, and it was like boring as fuck. Oh my god. And it was just like, yeah, it was about like Richard Parker. Like, yeah, he's like he's on the run with his wife. They're on a plane. We got the seedy like guy there. He's washing his hands. He's got blood all over him. It's so obvious. And he's like, everything okay? And they're just like fight. And it's like, all right. So this is a Spider-Man movie or what? And so like finally, and so many people have mentioned this, but like so like the criminal Oscorp guy who like kills the Peter's parents on the plane. He like it's implied like okay he killed like the driver the pilot, right? And so they're fighting and then the dead body of the pilot just at that moment not when he was dead, but when I guess now he just goes like he goes down and then the plane just starts falling.
He got sleepy.
He got a little sleepy after dying.
A little tired, you know. I think the guy killed him and was like, okay, how can I position this dead body to hold the plane steady
but only for a little bit, so I can fight him for a bit, and when I know I will almost lose, then the body will drop and the plane will fall. And yeah, that was just like the dumbest thing. Like the editing is terrible. It's like it cuts to that, it cuts to this. So yeah, not a great start to a Spider-Man movie. But then after that scene, yeah, we have Spider-Man, and yeah, he drops down from outer space. Where did he come from? but like it's a fun scene actually. Like I love Rhino. I love Paul Giamatti as Rhino, as you can tell by my Zoom background. And like he's just like goofy, and that's exactly what I wanted these movies to be. Just like sometimes like villains could just be like goofy, and like Paul Giamatti is giving it his all. He's not in the movie that much, but like when he's on, it's like, oh, it's fun. Like it's a fun little role. And so like, yeah, just Spider-Man doing his thing. So yeah, how do we feel about that?
Yeah, I love the dropping in from outer space, and then when he's swinging all around, it's like, oh, dude, this is fun. Like, and there's even a shot where like it's not a POV shot, but it kind of takes you like under him, and it's like, oh, this is what it would be like to like be like swinging from the buildings,
and it still looks great.
Yes, it looks really amazing. And then once he gets to Rhino and stuff like that, and he starts having this like back and forth quippy banter, it's like, you're so likable. This is so fun. I love it.
I completely agree. The first 10 minutes, like I'm just gonna get into it with, just like you did, Nick, because I have to. He is getting caught. He's like he needs to run away, so he downloads files. And then he tries to use his key card to get away, and they're like, no. Your ID has been restricted. You can't leave the building. So then he leaves the building. How do you leave the building if you just got prevented from leaving the building? He's like, well, I can't use the automated door. I'll just walk out the non-automated door. There's a non-automated, and why did you try the automated door, Richard? Why would you do that, bud? Anyway, he kills the spiders because of, you got to delete all the evidence and all that stuff.
Yeah, delete the spiders.
How did he get to the files that he needed if he just got restricted from the files he needed? The first 3 minutes of that film is such a mess. And then, like you said, the fighting, the pilot somehow flying the plane while dead. And then like that scene with Rhino, right? Like in traffic, like showing that he is really in tune with Spider-Man, showing the Spider-Man we saw 2 years ago or whenever Amazing Spider-Man 1 dropped, how efficient he is, a much better costume. That costume upgrade.
Oh yeah. Can we talk about the suit for a second? How
absolutely
for the longest time that was my favorite Spider-Man suit in any live action movie.
Such a good suit. Such a good suit.
Yeah, I think I actually prefer the Raimi one now that I revisited those movies, but I still think it's like so perfect.
Yeah, it looks almost like a cartoon.
Yeah,
Like that.
like this whole movie is a cartoon, and that's why I think I have to actually give this one like a more favorable review than like the first Amazing Spider-Man, because Amazing Spider-Man is trying to be dark and gritty and so grounded that it's like, what is this? While this one is like, yeah, a fucking walking, talking cartoon. All these characters. We got buffoons galore, but at least like. Once again, at least that's more in line with Spider-Man. It's a larger than life universe. It's a zany, big play. Like the perfect example of this is like Oscorp. In the first movie, it's like this boring, like gray, like building, right? Like, oh, here's Oscorp. Here's the spiders, blah blah blah. This one, there's like screens of like, there's a big like painting of a moth in the when you enter Oscorp. It's like all these like goofy comic booky like things all around you, and it's like, hey, that's something. At least that's something.
Eels. There are eels.
There are eels
powering the building.
Powering the building. That's right. There are eels powering.
Magical teeth-fixing electric eels powering the entire building in Oscorp. How can we can't get over that. We can't just gloss over that.
We're getting too far. We gotta go back. We'll get to the teeth later. But yeah, love the suit. So it's a high school graduation time. We get the Stan Lee cameo. Not my favorite Stan Lee cameo. It's just kind of like, hey, I know that guy, and it's like, how do you know that guy?
Also, it's Peter Park. Yeah, it's Peter Parker. What are you talking about?
Unless he's talking about like Spider-Man, like and he had his like, how he comes in and he has the mask on first, and he's like, ooh, is that what that was? I don't know. It was very strange though. It was like a cute, like, oh, he created Spider-Man, get it? But it's like in the universe of Spider, it's like, yeah, I mean, everyone knows that guy. What? Yeah, the Stan Lee cameo in Amazing Spider-Man 1 might be one of my favorites. I really like that one. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, this one not great. Gwen Stacy has this really on the nose speech about like, oh, life is precious. We're all gonna die someday, so we better make it count. Wink, wink. It's just like, wow, I wonder what's gonna happen to her at the end. And then we get to like the relationship drama again, where like, he's like, oh, I can't be with you. And it's like, okay. But at the end of the first movie, I thought that was like a concrete decision. Like, okay, I want to be with you. It's worth it, even though it'll be dangerous. And then he's just so wishy-washy in this movie. He's like, no, I don't want to, but I'm going to follow you around, but I don't want to do anything. But you know what I mean? It's like so wishy-washy in a way that I don't think is very Peter Parker, unfortunately. I think the characterization is still very off. He's just trying to do the right thing, Nick.
Is he though?
Is he
trying to do the right thing? He is. He's like, man, I promised your dad. What do I do?
Is that all you got?
Yeah. Well, that's why I didn't mind that he was so wishy-washy. Yeah. Just because I understand. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I don't know what you would do in that situation where it's like, okay, like I know for a fact that you're gonna get hurt. And
but
also,
it's like Spider-Man 2 though. It's like, hey, at least like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, his Peter Parker, like he made a decision at the end of the first one, right? I can't get involved with you. He sticks by that for as long as he humanly can, and that's what makes that story so interesting. Like it's pushed to its limits. At the end, near the end of the movie, in the diner or whatever, when Mary Jane is like, "Do you love me?" It's like, and he, he loves her, but it's like, that's interesting drama. He's sticking by, he's sticking to his plan. Like I'm going to do this, but it's hard. And that's Spider-Man to me. It's like the right thing to do, but it's hard. And this had an opportunity to do that. This movie had an opportunity for him to either like do the opposite, where like he's like all in on like, okay, I love you, Gwen. We're gonna be together, and the dangers that come with it. that's it. But instead we have to kind of retract and retcon and be like, oh, maybe they shouldn't be together at the beginning of this movie. That's how we start the movie, right? Like that they should really like build to being together at the end, right? That's how it should work. And it's just like, I don't know, it's so messy to me.
Yeah, I think I just view Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man as not as mature or ready to take on being Spider-Man as Tobey Maguire's was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at this point, he should know how to be a hero, right? I mean, like, this is his second movie. He already graduated high school, right?
Yeah, but Nick, they wanted to do 5.
I know, but Hunter, you do understand what I'm saying, though, right?
I understand. No, I do. And
what do you work for Sony? We gotta save it for Spider-Man 5. I gotta go.
There
We're
has
talking
to
about
be
the leak emails, baby.
There has to be a journey.
The journey is I want to date you, but then every time I see your ghost dad, maybe I should.
Okay, can we talk about that? So
that ghost dad shows up in the whole Rhino fight. He's like, he got hit by a car and he's stuck on it, and he sees ghost dad riding shotgun. And he's like, oh right, I'm not supposed to date your daughter.
All right, I forgot. I remember the first movie now. Okay, yeah, I guess we should break up. But it's like anytime Dennis Leary showed up, I audibly laughed. Especially at the end. At the climax, why is he there? I mean, I get Gwen's there, I guess, but what does that have to do with anything going on right now? but like, hey, once again, I'm laughing at it, but hey, that's better than the first Amazing Spider-Man, like, hey, that's something. I don't know. I don't want to, I don't want to be a negative Nancy at all, because there are things I enjoy about this movie, but overall, yeah, it's just like such a mess, just like Spider-Man 3. But I think this is, for me at least, like the messiest Spider-Man movie, because it's just like it's so many juggling acts, and it's a clown, like, just juggling balls, right? We got like 5 balls and he just drops all of them, and he's like, don't worry, the next one will be better. I promise. It's just like the last one.
6 balls.
Exactly. Oh geez, we'll get to that. Okay, let's get back on track. What did we do? So they break up again, right? But he's still like stalking her. Really cool, Spider-Man, of you to do that. But don't worry, he'll be a hero later, right, Hunter?
Yes, we have 5. We have 3 more
5 movies.
We have 3 more movies of Andrew Garfield to go, Nick.
He won't be a stalker in the next one, we promise.
I swear he'll be a good guy by the 4th one. And if not by the 4th one, then most definitely by the 5th one at the end.
We get this montage of like Spider-Man just being Spider-Man, how the citizens like, see him, obviously just like any Spider-Man movie should do. Like, some people love him, some people hate him. And we get that great scene, as I kind of mentioned before, with the kid, being bullied. Then Spider-Man shows up and he fixes the wind turbine thing. Like all that, like, oh, that's what Spider-Man's about. So like, it's not like completely devoid of that. It's just like 90% of it is the opposite, but at least like that 10% though, that's a good scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt like this movie did a lot better with New York and him like saving people a lot better than the first one did. Like, I actually felt like he was like a superhero.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I will agree with you that he is much more of a hero in this movie than the last one.
Yeah, he actually like is turning into that like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, like on the ground floor, We go through
all that, and one of my favorite moments in the movie is when he's like sick and he's getting medicine or whatever at the pharmacy or the grocery store, and the guy's getting robbed, and then he stops him, and he has like a scarf on, he's got a little hat, and he's like, I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah, that part's so funny.
I think that's so funny. Yeah.
And it just goes to show, it's like, oh, it never stops. Like,
it never, even when he's sick, he's got to do what he's got to do, baby.
Yeah, baby.
But yeah, so as you guys said, some good New York representation. Yeah, it feels like he's actually in New York this time, like in Manhattan.
Yeah, and especially when he saves Max Dillon. Is that his name?
Electro
Yeah.
Before,
himself.
and like in that sequence with the blueprints.
Yeah.
Right, that's right. In the beginning, yeah, that's true. Yeah, so like during that Rhino sequence, yeah, he saves Max Dillon.
Yeah.
How do we feel about his performance overall?
Jamie Foxx is phenomenal. First of all, it's just how do you do in that situation with a great actor in such a silly role of being like this nerd who works at Oscorp and gets no love and representation, like no respect that he clearly deserves, and is just constantly getting bullied and kicked down. I think Jamie Foxx does a really good job of like showing how easily that kind of person can snap when given just an inkling of power. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love him when he's Max. Actually, I
You like him more when he's Max than Electro.
I like him more when he's Max. Yeah, I mean, it's such a cliche at this point. We talked about this like with Wonder Woman 1984. We talked about this with like Batman Forever. Not Batman. Yeah, Batman Forever. You know how like, you know, it's like this nerdy guy or gal, you know, and they're like the world keeps like pushing them and, you know, shitting on them, and then they become a bad guy. And this one is very much the same in that way. But I do think it's kind of funny when he's Max. Yeah, I think he's like so manic and so like he's talking to himself just like every Spider-Man villain in the live action movies right now. But yeah, I like when he like in his head like is like confronting that guy in the at Oscorp, like, you know, that fantasy he has, like Spider-Man's a Sagittarius, you know. It's just like, oh, okay. Like the, you know, there's a manic energy there that I appreciate.
Yeah, I enjoyed his performance. He made me feel bad. Like I felt bad for him. Like, and especially we'll get into it. Like when he first becomes Electro and he's in Times Square and he's like, Wayne, like no, like I'm not trying to hurt anybody. And then like it ends up just kind of going that way. I was like, oh man, I felt really bad for him. And when he's talking to himself, I thought that was so funny. He's like, "Oh, Spider-Man, it's my birthday. You showed up." It's like this is so weird and
Yeah,
great.
and he has his own like Spider-Man voice when he
The
turns on
voice he
Spider-Man.
gives Spider-Man is so funny.
Yeah,
How do you like your cake? I like it a lot, Max.
Like
I think it's a great cake.
yeah, it just goes to show like you can give Jamie Foxx anything and he's gonna like give it 110% and go all out and be fantastic.
Yeah, no, I love him. And I think when he's playing Max, it's great. I think when he's Electro, I don't, once again, it's not his fault, but I just don't think he has a lot to do after that. It's not even his movie after that. I mean, like they set up so much about him and then he just shows up at the end for a little bit and dies. And we'll get there. But yeah, Electro, when he's just Electro, it's just kind of like every other bad guy that's just like, I want to kill everybody. I want to kill Spider-Man. And it's like, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes a little one note.
It's very one note. I even the first time watching it, I was like, oh, not enough Electro. Like, what happened to him?
Yeah. And we'll get into it, but he just kind of becomes like Dane DeHaan's like
Lackey.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. Like this is supposed to be Electro's movie, and he kind of becomes the lackey by the end.
Yeah, I know.
Or like the muscle, you know, like in an Indiana Jones movie where it's just like the big guy that he has to fight, and then the real bad guy shows up. He becomes that by the end. Isn't it supposed to be his movie?
Which is so weird, like to Dane DeHaan. I don't know. It's just a weird.
Yeah, we'll get to Dane. Yeah,
movie takes. But
but you know, I like him as Max though, and I'm very excited to see him in No Way Home. I think his look is a lot better. I think Electro kind of looks really fucking stupid in this. I think like he looks like a dollar store Dr. Manhattan. It's just like, oh, that's unfortunate. Every scene you're in looks not great. But yeah, I can't wait for him in No Way Home though. I think he's if they give him like a real opportunity to play this like legendary Spider-Man villain right, I think he's going to be great.
Yeah, Yeah, agreed. Saying that, I don't mind the look. I thought I would. I thought I would mind him being like
You don't do you
blue.
like the voice, the electronic voice, like
Okay, so there's a part in the Times Square thing where like it's got this like it's kind of like music, but I think it's supposed to be his thoughts, and it's like Spider-Man, and I was like, this is
yes.
the creepiest thing I've ever friggin' seen. I love this, and I wish that they did that more towards the end, you know. So if that's what it was the entire movie, yes, I do love it.
Right, because if that energy was like throughout, maybe I would have liked it better. What's funny is so Hans Zimmer did the score for this movie, and I like the score, by the way. I like it a lot, actually. I like the theme. Hey, once again, better than the first one. I don't remember anything musically from the Amazing Spider-Man movie or the first one. So like, hey, you know, as messy as this movie is, like, you know, you got to give it, you know, the score's pretty good. Pharrell Williams did the music, and I think he did that song, the electro, like, he hates of me, a Spider-Man. He hates of me. That's literally a lyric.
Me, Spider-Man. Yeah, they shot me. They killed me. They shot me.
Yeah, wait, Chris Pratt is he our new guest star? Is he our new special guest? Pharrell Williams, yeah, so Pharrell Williams, Junkie XL. It's a bunch of people did the music for this. I think Junkie XL did like the Itsy Bitsy Spider at the end.
Which was so good. Which was so good. It's such a menacing thing for a character to do. I feel like that's like that, like you said, the beginning of like hearing his thoughts and like how jumbled they are because of the electricity and all this power he has, and him slow, like finally snapping, versus like that intimidating towards the end. If they had found like a good middle point between those two high points, that would have been great. But instead, it is literally just like a V. It is just like straight decline and then immediate incline.
Yeah, it's just so rushed. He's this way and then he's completely this way. Like it's so unnatural to me. Like that whole Times Square scene is so silly to me because like all it takes is just like, you know, he sees himself in all the screens or whatever, right? And then like Spider-Man, it's just like so one note. It's like, oh, they're looking at Spider-Man now. Ah, I hate him. You know what I mean? It's like, how do we get there? I mean, you love him, and just because of that, you hate him. You've seen him on TV. It's not like this is the first time you've seen him get attention. You know, I don't know. Like I get what they were trying to do, but it's just so rushed where it's like, oh, now he's this completely. Like he hates Spider-Man. We got to keep moving. We got to focus on Dane DeHaan as Goblin and all this other stuff. So like, okay, he's a bad guy now. We got to move on.
Yeah, I don't know if it has so much to do with like him hating Spider-Man. I think it's just in that moment, it's like, oh, finally somebody sees me.
Yeah, but then, I mean, it does devolve into like, I want to kill Spider-Man. I hate him so much, you know?
Yeah. I like in that scene where they like have him captive and they have him under the water and stuff like that. I did not like that scene because I was like, where is this coming from?
You know what I do like? You know what I do like though? That comical German scientist.
I was like, I loved him. I was like, where are you from?
He is in a completely different movie, and I'm here for it. I loved him so much. He was like, I want to study you. Yes. Yes. And he's like, I don't know. He's like in a Frankenstein movie or something. I loved it. But every actor is doing like a completely different thing. And that's kind of part of the reason I kind of like it, because it's like, like this person's doing this, Dane DeHaan's doing something else, Electro, and just everyone.
Dane DeHaan's doing something else.
Yeah, we'll get there. But so yeah, like Electro, yeah, loser becomes Electro because of Eels. Oscorp kind of fucks him over, just like every bad guy in the Spider-Man universe. So yeah, let's talk about it. So when he's in the vat of Eels, it fixes the gap between his teeth.
I mean, like I get that this dude has no regard for his own personal safety. I get that. But even someone who's like depressed can be like, maybe I shouldn't stand over this open vat of Eels. Number one. Number two, Why are they so angry that they decided to bite him in the first place? They're just like, yeah, we've been cooped up in here all day. This dude, delicious. And why do they fix his teeth? What superpower is that? What superpower did he gain? Good dental care? I guess in America that makes sense. But like, why keep him the gap? That's like a defining trait of Max Dillon, is that gap in his teeth, right? Forget about the hair and the glasses and all that stuff. You don't need that. Just like, oh yeah, you're Max, you had that, like the drawbridge in your teeth. Yeah, perfect. Or
Right,
whatever.
because it's like a
Drawbridge
kind of like cute little detail, right? Just to show how nerdy he is. And even like it would be interesting, like even when he's Electro, he has that, so we can have the like Max is in there somewhere, like, and that's kind of a visual that could have been a visual representation of that, but instead it's like, we can't have our main bad guy have a gap between his teeth. Let's just fix it. The electricity did it. I don't know.
They made such a point to show it too, because he's like
I know.
screaming like and then they zoom in on his teeth getting fixed. Like you didn't need to show that. If you didn't show that and you're like, oh, his teeth are fixed now, it's fine. But the fact that you made it so prevalent in that scene where he is getting electrified makes it so like important and noticeable.
Absolutely, yeah. So he's Electro. He's running around New York. We have this whole thing with Peter and Gwen, where they're broken up, but they like meet again, right? And just like the last one, Emma Stone looking like a snack. Someone give me a glass of water. I need to splash it on my face. But anyway. But like, and I like those scenes. I like the scene where they're like at the park, Union Square, by the way. That was Union Square, baby. But they're walking in, and you can tell like it's kind of improvised. They were just kind of like, go, just like make a cute scene where you guys are talking about something like, okay, some ground rules. Don't do this. It's too cute. Stop it. It's like, oh, that's cute. Like, like I like that. I definitely like their chemistry more in this one than in the last one too. I at least get why they like each other. I get like, oh, like I can see why they really like each other. They love each other,
Yeah, I love that. I love that scene. I was like, oh, what? This is so adorable. But yeah, that I think I get it too though. I got their chemistry a lot more. I mean, they are dating at this point in real life. Yes,
that's right. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I loved them in this. It was great.
Yeah. And overall, how do we feel about Emma Stone in the movie?
Hilarious. I thought she was really funny in it. I thought she was really likable. It feels like they let her go a bit more in this one. Let her be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought that her performance was more like free.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think once again, all the issues I have about Gwen Stacy is once again just like the script, and more just like, oh, like, I don't know, they really hammer in just like, yeah, this is my choice. I'm gonna die because this is my fault or my own doing. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not your fault, Spider-Man. Don't worry. And once again, like the speech and everything in the beginning and at the end, it's more just that. And like, oh, like they, like, I feel like in an effort to like have a strong female character, like just like the last one, but in some ways more so in this one, they have to make Peter Parker more stupid. And like he has to like watch dumb YouTube videos about batteries, and he has to like, I don't know, what was it, near the end on the bridge? What do they say to each other? Like, oh, I'm smarter than you, Peter. Did you do this, Peter? Did you like about batteries, about Electro? Like, oh, Peter, did you do this? And Peter was like, no. I was like, I mean. Like Gwen Stacy should be smart, but it just feels like every time it seems like, oh, she's definitely like much more competent than he is.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I felt that way, but maybe I didn't think about it. Because I got from that scene is like, oh, like what, like they're such a good pair. Like she compliments him so well that like, oh, if he forgets about like one thing, she's got it. You know what I mean?
That's true. But maybe if they showed that more, you know, where it's more of like an emotional, and it could be a smart thing too. I'm not saying she shouldn't be smart, but I'm saying like, you know, like maybe it should have been more like, I don't know, like I don't know. I just feel like Peter Parker in general is just like, I don't know, not as he's just too passive for me, I think, in this movie, where he's just like, things are just happening to him and he's not doing anything about it, you know, where at least like with Tobey's Spider-Man, like he's proactive, he's like gonna do something, whether it's selfish or selfless or whatever. Like Mary Jane, I can't be with you, that's it, I gotta stick with that. And in this movie, Andrew Garfield, once again, doing a good job, but like the characterization of Peter Parker, it's like maybe this, maybe that, I don't know, you know?
Yeah. I see that.
Yeah. But yeah, where are we in this movie?
Oh gosh, they just met up. Ground rules scene.
Cute as hell.
What happens after this?
Electro, but we sort of talked about this already. Like he fights Electro, water. Spider-Man has the fireman cap on, which is cute. I like that. It was like, oh, like it was like prototype Deadpool. I was like, oh yeah, like superheroes and like can be funny and like that. I don't know. Like, and then we got Deadpool eventually, but it reminded me of that for whatever reason. But yeah, so, and then he's like, and she tells him like, oh, I'm going to London. I might go to Oxford, so I might leave New York. And he's like, London, really? And I'm like, is that Peter Parker though? Would he say that? You know what I mean? I don't know. It seems like a little too much, where like he's so sarcastic and so like, that like it seems a little bit too unlike Spider-Man, you know?
Interesting. Yeah. Well, then he does come back though and say like, oh, like I'll go wherever you go. Like,
but that's like at the end, you know, that's like way later.
Yeah.
But I hear you though, Hunter. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we like Emma Stone.
Ooh, Nick.
Yes.
Aunt May this time around.
Better too. I mean, like, you know, I still don't think like they have a grasp of what Aunt May should be in these movies. Because, and we'll get to the parents, it's really that, I think, it's just like it's so muddled in that way, but I think she does better here. I think like the scene where she breaks down and she's like, I don't know how to do any of this without Ben, like was actually a little bit moving. Like I like that scene, even though I think by the end of it it's so like the other direction, where it should have really kept going with like, no, I'm your mom, Uncle Ben's your dad, you know, like we were there for you, we're your parents. But then it just evolves into like, no, but I gotta find out about my parents. And she's like, okay. You know, and it's like, man, we were almost there. Because that's really what I want from this parent storyline. If we're gonna do this parent storyline, we have to make it like, I have a father and his name was Ben Parker, just like in Tobey's movies. That's what we need to get to. But these two movies just never get there. And it's so frustrating to me, because that's, I feel at least, what Spider-Man's about. Chosen family, you know, the people who are there, you know, who are good by you, that kind of thing. But I think she's all right in this. She's okay.
Yeah, that scene made me tear up a little bit. I thought she was really good this time around. But I do agree, though. It's like with Rosemary Harris and stuff like that, it's like, oh, she had it down to a T of like who Aunt May is, and these movies have no idea who this woman is.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
How do you follow a class act? Like the Tobey Aunt May was so good. Like just played it so well. Sally Field's a great actress too. And
great
like
actress.
You said, like that scene where she like really breaks down and is like, no, you're my boy. You felt that. You felt her be like, no. I know you had your parents, whatever. It kills me to see that you're worrying about your parents so much when they ditched you and they did all this stuff. I'm the one who took care of you. You're my boy. And then Peter being like, yeah, but my dad, I gotta go find out what my dad wanted. He took the D train. Oh, the D train. I have to go find the D train. Like, nah, man, Aunt May is like, really cares about you, and you should acknowledge that a little bit more. You know?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think to a certain extent, because I think you're right with Spider-Man. I think that is what it's about. But then on like another human level, it's like, oh, I think you would be wondering though, even if your dad wasn't like a crazy super spy doctor guy, like, you're like, well, where'd he go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what would be interesting if this movie did like oh god, Nick, you're gonna love me saying this.
Uh-oh.
But what would be interesting if they went like the Last Jedi route, where it's like, Peter, your dad was nobody, what are you talking about? Like,
You know what? Yeah. No, I
yeah,
agree
it
with
would be
you.
interesting. It would.
They should have done that, or he's like, I don't know, an evil asshole or something. I don't know, something to like, or or maybe that's one note, but like maybe something like that, where like, no, like stop digging so far like into this. It's nothing. It is nothing. I'm here. I'm here, Peter. So something like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Or even if they did like a OG Star Wars thing where like Luke finds out that Darth Vader, you know what I mean? Like where he is like a bad,
My
like,
dad's Norman Osborn.
born, boom, boom, boom.
Bum, 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 ba-dum.
But yeah, it'd be interesting if like he found out that his dad was like a bad guy or something like that, and then have to
Yeah.
come to that. But
And it's
no,
like choosing like evil real father or chosen father, something like that.
exactly. Let's get some layers here.
Like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, something like that. We need something like that in this movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, what else? What are some other major performances besides Dane DeHaan that we want to talk about?
I literally was about to be like, I think it's about that time.
I think it is, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Let's just jump.
Let's just do it. All right, so I'll start with you guys first. Dane DeHaan, go. No one wants to talk.
I mean, performance of the century, right? I mean, come on. Like, I haven't seen any of his stuff. I didn't see that movie where he had like powers and like the trailer shows him.
Oh, Chronicle? You didn't see Chronicle?
Chronicle. I didn't see Chronicle. I haven't seen any of his other work. So this is my first experience with the actor. Like, I don't know. It's just so strange what they did with him, because like, they explained that he's not in the first movie. He's not at all involved in Peter Parker's life because he was away. He was away for school, and Norman Osborn sent him off to boarding school because he doesn't care about him. I'm back now, and I'm rich, and I'm involved, but I'm also dying. So if you could just get Spider-Man to give me some blood, that'd be great. And then is cracking under the weight of like, yeah, you're gonna die one day. Like there's so little to do with that character because they didn't give him anything to work with. They were just like, you're the son of a rich asshole and you're gonna die. You also are friends with Peter Parker, who takes pictures of Spider-Man. Go for it. Knock yourself out. Here's Spider-Man 1 with Willem Dafoe. Take whatever you want from that. If you take nothing from it, that's on you. Go for it. It's you got this. Action. Like, that's really what they did. Like, they really didn't give him anything to work with because they didn't set up anything about Harry in the first one. They didn't even mention Harry in the first one.
Yeah, I mean, it's so clearly a retcon. It's so clearly like, oh shit, we got to bring Harry in. Oh, they've been friends the whole time. He was just away.
Yeah.
They grew up together, but he's gone now. They've never spoken. They don't even text. We're not going to show you that. We will show you Peter emailing Daily Bugle, though, so that we can say that, you see what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. All right. Action.
I lost it when they were talking later in the movie about like, oh, like, hey, like he takes out the newspaper. He's like, Spider-Man. He's like, yeah, what? You take pictures of him, right? Yeah. So you know him. What?
Yeah, it was like hey, you guys saw the Tobey Maguire movies, right? So let's just try to do that without showing anything.
Yeah, Dane DeHaan is doing like his best Jack Nicholson impression. I feel like think he's just like he's going for whatever he's going for, but like, yeah, it just doesn't feel like Harry, and it doesn't have to be like Harry from the other movies. It's just like, I don't even know what you want. do you want to be the successor of Oscorp? Do you not want to be? Why? You know, it's like, give me something here. The only motivation is he doesn't want to die. Newsflash, that's all of our motivation.
Yeah. And also I'll preface I'll preface my thoughts with his performance in this movie. I was a very big fan of this actor. Like, even like I pulled up some of like the movies that I like him in, like Kill Your Darlings, A Cure for Wellness, Chronicle, The Place Beyond the Pines, Life After Beth. Like, I even he played James Dean in a movie called Life with Robert Pattinson, and I think it's called Life. Yeah, it's called Life.
Yeah.
No, very good actor, very good performances. This movie, I was like, this is not the same guy. What happened here? Like, and I don't know if it's like studio interference. I don't know, but like, and then after this movie, he did like a weird sci-fi movie, and then like I didn't see him ever again. It's like, it's such a weird, I don't know, weird thing that happened to him after this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great. It's pretty bad. A terrible performance, I feel. I suppose it's not his fault, but I don't know. It's just like, once again, a totally different energy from what everybody else is doing. And yeah, so like, I don't know, he's just angry, and he throws glasses around. You're a fraud, Spider-Man. That was pretty funny. I laughed at that. But yeah, he's definitely the worst part for me. I like his storyline, his performance, just everything. I'm just like, I don't care about this. And like the scene with Norman Osborn earlier on, it's like so silly. Chris Cooper's like hamming it up, but it's like, I don't know, it feels wrong. And he has like, and so he's turning into a goblin. Is that what's happening? He's got long fingernails, and he's like, here, take this. And I'm like, is he literally a goblin? I mean, I guess that's what happens in the comics, right? He literally turns into a goblin. What? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, Nick, I told you this before I watched the movie. I was like, all I remember about Dane DeHaan was that he has like moss on his face. He looks so weird.
And then he looks like a crack addict.
He does. He's like, hey, Peter.
And it's not fun. When he's Green Goblin, it's not fun. It's just like, ugh, take a shower.
Yeah, he just looked unwashed. Like, he just looked like he hasn't showered in at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Take a shower and open your mouth when you talk, okay?
Yeah, please. You don't have to talk through your teeth. It's fine. But yeah, and it sort of becomes about him by the end, even though it should maybe be more about Electro. But like, then why do we set up Electro? And it's just like, once again, like back and forth between Electro and Dane DeHaan. It's like, you never know exactly what the movie wants to do. There's no through line. It doesn't. You can do all this stuff really, but there has to be like an emotional through line with it. Why do we care? Where's this all coming from? And what does this have to do with the story at large or Peter Parker as a character? And we don't really get that at all.
And also, when Harry finds out in this movie that Peter Parker Spider-Man, it like does not face him at all. He's like, yeah, I knew it the entire. It's like, wait, what? And at least with the Raimi movies, when Harry finds out, there's like a struggle there. You know what I mean? This, it's like, okay. He's like,
yeah, then he just kind of moves on. He's like, wait a minute, Peter. Okay. Anyway, it's like, oh,
yeah, I knew it. Yeah, and then like, yeah, it's so strange. And then by the end of the movie, he's like, I'm gonna form this evil bad guy, Sinister Six.
I hope we're excited for that, folks. It's happening. It's gonna happen.
And it's like, what? How did you get to be like some snot-nosed like kid to this evil mastermind in like 2 seconds? Also, why do you look normal by the end of the movie?
It comes and goes.
Like, what are you talking about?
This illness that's for life. Yeah, some days it's worse than others.
Also, why is he like dying now? Like Norman Osborn was old when it started happening, right? So like why is he like almost dying now? It makes no sense.
I don't know. Honestly, I think Harry. I think this is the worst. I think that's what makes the movie a little like, oh god, because the rest of the movie, I'm like, yeah, let's do this. You know what I mean? But once he comes in, it's like forced and weird and just another movie entirely.
We cut back and forth between like, yeah, Dane DeHaan's sick. He wants Spider-Man's blood. It's like, oh, he could do anything a spider can. I need his blood. Just, you know, and Spider-Man's like, no. And like, in a way, I get it. Of course, his explanation is like, oh, maybe it'll make you worse, but you don't know that. I mean, by the end of the movie, it's like, yes, but like, how do you know that now? And then you dress up as Spider-Man and go to his house and you're like, hey, so no, I gotta go now. And it's like, why'd you even come over?
Yeah, that part made me laugh so hard. I didn't remember that storyline. I was like, oh, okay, he's going to show up and give blood or whatever, and it's going to go wrong. But no, he literally just goes, hey, Harry, fuck you.
And like in his, like when he's Spider-Man in the suit and he's like trying to be like sad, like, sorry, Harry. For whatever reason, it's funny to me. Like his head is down. And he's like,
he stays frozen in that position that whole scene.
Yeah.
Harry, I'm sorry. I can't give you my blood. It's too dangerous. Bye. And then leaves. Like, why did he?
But not only leaves, but does a few flips and then leaves.
And then stays out the window to listen. Like, oh, I guess I hurt his feelings.
Yeah. Oh, what happened? What happened? What did I do? It's just so weird because once again, like at this point, Peter Parker should have at least some semblance of like what it's like to be responsible or how to be responsible, and instead he just makes all these silly irresponsible things, and it's like there's no arc, there's nothing. It's just like by the end it's like, oh, it's all right, Peter, it actually wasn't even your fault that Gwen Stacy died. You're good, go back to being Spider-Man, quote unquote.
5 movies, Nick. We have 5 movies.
I'm gonna throw up. I'm curious what you'll think about the Tom Holland movies, if you'll think the same way. I'm genuinely curious.
I don't know. At this point, I don't have high hopes because right now it's like Tobey Maguire's the best one. Andrew Garfield's good, and I like these movies, but they're not the Raimi movies. They're just not. And so now it's only going downhill a little bit.
Really, it's going downhill. Even though you like this movie, it's going downhill for you. Interesting.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think I like this movie a little more than Spider-Man 3, just a little bit more. Really? I do, yeah. I know that's weird.
Interesting. That is a little. I mean, not too weird because it's your opinion, but like you know, as messy as Spider-Man 3 is to us, I still think it has so much heart, more heart than even these Amazing Spider-Man movies. You know, where like I get it, like you know, it not being our favorite or anything, but like there are some of my favorite Spider-Man movie moments are in that movie. While there are things I enjoy about these movies too, but like those ones overpower these moments for me because you care about Tom Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, and James Franco in those movies. You know? Yes,
very true. I think I like this one, and it's only slightly more. Only because I think I'll take these wacky, weird villains over like the villains that we get in Spider-Man 3, where Sandman, I'm kind of bored, and Topher Grace, I'm kind of like, what this? I'm bored, but also what's going on? You know what I mean? Whereas
I would take Sandman any day above any of these villains. Lizard, Electro, and Dane DeHaan. Maybe Electro not as much, but definitely Goblin and Lizard.
I would take Spider-Man 3 over The Amazing Spider-Man.
You would? Okay.
Yes, I've changed my opinion now that watching this movie. I like the Amazing Spider-Man, but I almost agree with you like 90% more than I do.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
See, opinions change.
Opinions change, my dudes.
So Dane DeHaan's like, he really needs to find Electro because he gets kicked out of Oscorp. Spider-Man said no to the whole Blunt thing. And so like, yeah, so Electro and Gabi meet. And just like Spider-Man 3, or to me and Hunter at least, just this really forced, like, you hate Spider-Man, I hate Spider-Man, let's kill Spider-Man.
It is so forced. I thought it was so dumb because I like the Electro thing, like, oh, like I want somebody to see me, like I want like to be seen.
Right, but then that's like his only character trait. Like when Dane DeHaan says it, like, I need you. You need me? You need me?
Yeah, it's so stupid.
What are you, a dog?
Yeah, it's like
please, Max, I need you. You need me? Like you need me? And the worst part is that's when he's like, oh wait, I do have superpowers. Boah.
Oh God, yeah, that part was so forced, and he's like, and then Dane he keeps repeating it. I need you. He's like, and then he disappears.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, yeah, so they've teamed up. They go back to Oscorp.
And then Electro gets a super suit
out of nowhere. Where did he get it?
Where the fuck did that come from?
Where the fuck? Did he have time to knit something together? What the fuck happened? But yeah, so they go to Oscorp, and like Harry is like, give me this Venom blood thing, because Felicia was like, oh, actually we have like the spider blood thing. We can give that to you. It's underground. It's in the basement, right? So like he takes it, he becomes the Goblin, really force, like, oh, and let's not forget the fucking Doc Ock arms in the background, and the the Vulture wings. I don't know if the Vulture wings are in that scene, but I did see the Doc Ock arms in the background, and I was like, we'll get to that later, because I have a lot of issues with that. But it's just this really rushed thing, the Goblin thing. We're like, all right, gonna conveniently crawl to this suit. What if he took the Doc Ock arms? Would he be Doc Ock? You know? Would he just be Doc Ock now?
That's fucking so funny.
You know what I mean? Like, it's all there. It's just like choose your villain origin story.
Big Vulture wings. Peter, when you said Spider-Man said no, just flapping, just like endless flapping. And Peter's like, what? I can't hear you. You have a wind turbine on your back. I can't.
You know what I mean?
His performance would have worked better as a bird. He looks like a bird. It would have worked better. Imagine the wings, and he's like, I was like, ooh, this is creepy. I like this better.
But yeah, so he's the Goblin. Electro is free. You know, he goes to the power plant, and so before even all that, Peter he throws like the calculator in Richard Parker's bag, right, and finds coins, and he's like, oh, that's right, he took the D train. And so like that was enough, I guess, to go underground, find the abandoned train. He opens it up. It's like a secret super spy lab thing, right? And I think the worst kind of scene of the movie happens, in my opinion, or at least like the scene that like, oh, what a boneheaded wrong way to like tackle Spider-Man and what he is. So like we get this like video of Richard Parker where he's like, oh, like I was working with Norman Osborn, and then like he wanted to use, you know, what we made for evil, you know, military stuff. And then he's like, yeah, well, little does Norman know that I use my blood for those spiders, so no one can use them except for my bloodline, which is so fucking stupid to me, because then it's like, oh, like Spider-Man, every man, anyone can be Spider-Man. No, you have to be a Parker. And that's like, ew.
Also, weren't you trying to help people? Why'd you do that? Right? Isn't the whole point like wasn't it like to cure like diseases?
Yeah.
So
How
what do you do?
selfish of you.
Yeah.
My
Oh,
blood
you
is
can only cure
purest.
Parker diseases? What's going on?
I have a long history of blood disease, so therefore, all my children, all my spider children, will have to be. They'll be cured. It'll be fine, and no one else. Thank
I
you,
will-
Norman Osborn.
I will have spider children.
And if anybody else tries to use it, they will become the Green Goblin.
They will become the Green Goblin. They will become a goblin.
A goblin. I set it up. They will become a goblin.
But it's like
my
this.
mother was a goblin. My father was a spider.
But it's like this eugenics thing where it's like, it's like Star Wars, as I mentioned before in other episodes. Like it's just like the bloodline. It's like family. It's like, you have to be related to this person to be special. And it's just like that's especially Spider-Man. That is not what Spider-Man's about. Spider-Man is definitely just like an everyman. Anyone could be him. And it was an accident. Him being bitten by the spider, and it was like, oh, I have all this strength, all these powers now. What am I going to do about it? And that's the whole thing about Spider-Man. So like, that's like just like it's all connected bullshit, like universe thing. That's like, we really did not need that. I just the message taken away from that scene is just like so wrong to me.
Yeah, I mean, you could maybe take away from it as like, oh, like everything is like meant to be or whatever. But like, I think you're right, though. I think it's yeah, right. Yeah. I'm trying to put a good spin on it.
I appreciate the effort. I really do.
The effort, but
The effort,
no.
but no.
Yes, but no.
So yeah, finally we get I love the taxi driver. He's like, Spider-Man, like, when Gwen Stacy's in the taxi and he's like, I'm not even moving.
Yeah.
And so like, Spider-Man writes like, I love you on the Brooklyn Bridge. They embrace, they're like, I will follow you anywhere. I love you. Let's stay together. There's crime in London, right? Haha, and it's like, okay, so like he made a decision finally that like, I want to be with you. And then Electro comes and fight. Gwen is like, I really want to come with you. This is my choice. And then so like she gets the car, runs Electro over, and they like have a plan. Like, okay, she's gonna like go into the room and like overcharge something and
reset the power line because like it's shut down currently, so it's like a hard reset using the key codes from like the two people that Electro popped that are in like the main control unit. So I think it's like, the plan is, okay, I'm going to use my webs. I'm going to make a new power line using my webs that now, because of batteries and a YouTube video I saw, can hold electricity. So I need you to turn on the entire power grid for the entire city of New York once I connect these two things. Can you do that, Gwen? Yes.
Can you push a button?
And turn a key. There's a key involved too.
There's a key involved. Yeah, women. That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Isn't there a moment either before or after this where she's like, no, like I can do this. I'm the only one that can do this. And then he was all like, she goes to get something from a trunk or whatever. And then like he goes, nope.
Yes, he leaves her. She's adamant that she wants to come along to help to go fight Electro at the power grid. And he's like, no, you can't come. It's like, okay, get the thing from the truck. Flip. Bye. And then,
and then
dips.
The funniest joke of the entire movie, and she goes, Peter. It's so funny, dude.
Covers her mouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else? So Peter Parker, Spider-Man, kills Electro. So, and that's weird, right?
Gwen does it. It wasn't Spider-Man. Okay.
So
Spider-Man just tied a knot.
So Gwen's a murderer, and because of that, she must die at the end.
Yes.
She must die. Yes. Well, I mean, like, it's weird to like, I don't know, even have Spider-Man involved in like a killing of a even a villain. He's an accomplice.
Yeah, I don't kill anyone. Gwen, can you fucking help me?
Gwen, can you cross that line for me? Thank you.
Gwen's like, yeah, I'll do it.
She's like, Peter, I will. She's the Green Goblin by the end. That would have been interesting. That would have been interesting. Peter. But that would have been something. Imagine, like, no, they don't kill Gwen Stacy off. She becomes the Green Goblin. But yeah, so the Electro is defeated, and then like, oh wait, fuck, Goblin is also here. All right, let's bring him in. Let's bring him in. Woo, woo, woo. And it's like, yeah, we already talked about all the exchanges. So like, he takes Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy, and now we're near. I guess the power place is also near a comical clock tower. And so we have this zany, cartoony clock tower. Once again, like, I like that though. I mean, it's so dumb, but it's like, hey, here we are. Why not? And so, you know, the fight. And it's like the situation where like he's holding on to Gwen, but he's also fighting Gabi, and she like, I don't know, what is it? Does she drop? Like, how does she drop? Oh, right, because the cogs or whatever cut the web.
Yeah.
And so like she's like falling super slow-mo. And I, once again, as all the issues I have with this movie, when she's like falling and the web's about to get her, and it seems like she's caught onto the web, she's fine, and she's gonna make it, boom. That still gets me every time. I'm like, oh my fucking God, that's good.
Yeah, that is like one of the best deaths in like cinema. I know that's a very crazy thing to say, but it's like, damn, like, and they do it in a Spider-Man movie that's like pretty lighthearted for the most part throughout this movie. It's like fun and stuff like that, and then it's just like boom, and then Andrew Garfield goes down and delivers an amazing performance, and it's like, oh no, this is real. I also like the part where like it's almost like, I don't know the right word for it, but like a metaphor or something like that, where like he's fighting the Green Goblin, but he's holding on to this relationship, and it kind of sums up like the best parts of these two movies in my head, where it's like, oh, that's what these two movies were about, and he made the wrong choice, and it sucks that we leave this Spider-Man there. You know what I mean? It really sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like, on paper I get it, and execution wise it's just so messy to me, but I do like that scene. You're right, you described it perfectly. Because Andrew Garfield's great. And but also, once again, like, they kind of like, they don't like really sit into the like complication of like that happening, where like, was it because of him, or was he responsible anyway? It's like, it takes the movie at the end like takes that all away, and it's like, no, it was Gwen's choice, so like, it's fine, he's Spider-Man again. You know what I mean? Like, we talked about this, Mouktar, like, maybe the movie should have ended with him like just staring at the grave.
Yep.
That would have been, look, maybe it would have been too dark, I don't know, but like, that would have been like, hey, the Raimi movies end pretty bittersweetly, so why not these movies?
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I don't know, I don't know. I wonder if there's like a director's cut or like a vision that he's talked about where like that's where the movie does end, because it
there's an alternate scene during that part of the movie, you know this probably, Mouktar, where it is revealed that Richard Parker is still alive, and they filmed it, and you can watch it online somewhere. And he comes back and he's like, I'm back, Peter, I'm sorry. And that's it.
I don't understand.
I wish I could put into words the face you just had on Hunter. I really do.
Well, on paper and on like these movies could be so good. And then you hear about what they wanted to do, and it's like, who would want that? Why are you doing this to me? You have such a good foundation of like this Spider-Man, like, because a Spider-Man or even a superhero in general that like isn't fully formed yet and like still makes very bad mistakes is very interesting to me. And there's something there with these movies, and they don't dive into it, and then they focus on Peter, I'm your dad, I'm back alive. What the fuck are you doing?
We're making
Why?
the Sinister Six.
I heard you broke into my D train, and that was for me and your mother only.
And I am now Doc Ock.
That's good. That's good right there. That's Amazing Spider-Man 3. Come on. If they ever make it because of the success of No Way Home, that's what's going to happen, baby. Richard Parker is back. He's back. But that's perfectly said, Hunter. It could have been such an interesting, like, it could have actually even complemented the Tobey Maguire movies, where it's like, here's a Spider-Man that like really does like kind of make the selfish decision and pays for it. And that could have been such an interesting inversion of the Tobey movies, or just like on its own, just like, let's make this Peter Parker really flawed and really make these selfish decisions. And as I said, pay for them. Like, that would have been so interesting. But instead, yeah, it's about so many other things that they want to set up because they want to make this Spider-Man cinematic universe. And that's what really brings this movie down. So like, Peter's depressed, right? And so he's not Spider-Man for like 5 months or whatever, right? Which makes sense. That tracks with what I think like would happen. But then like we have this decent scene with Aunt May, actually. I don't mind it, where, you know, she's like, you know, about Uncle Ben stuff or whatever. I think anytime just any Aunt May like mentions Uncle Ben, I'm always gonna be like you know. But like, you know, she's like, you know, something about like moving on, you know, like, I'm gonna put this somewhere else, like these memories, but like I gotta keep moving forward or whatever, right? So basically he comes back to being Spider-Man after listening to the speech, and it's so on the nose, like, you know, life is worth living, or like, life is precious. I love life, but maybe I'll die soon, and that's okay. And so like, you know, he's back being Spider-Man. Rhino's running amok, and we have this guy again, this guy in the trench coat and the hat, the shadowy figure. He goes to Dane the Hun's Green Goblin. We mentioned this, like, it comes and goes, like he's not a goblin right now. I don't know, whatever. I thought he was dying. What happened? But whatever, we don't really address that. But like, so the guy's like, are you ready, Harry? We're gonna assemble a team. And it's like, is this the Nick Fury of the Sinister Six? Like, who is this guy? Because like, at first, you know, before seeing this movie, I was like, maybe he's Norman Osborn because he has a silly voice or something. But like, it's some guy named Fears, I think. It's like Mr. Fears. It's like, that's what it says in the movie. Like, here, Mr. Fears, here's all the suits for the Sinister Six spinoff movie we have in mind.
It's Peter's dad.
Oh, that would have been something at least. Have you told him about... Wait. In the first movie, have you told him about his father? Me. Yeah, let's talk about it now. Like, as I said, like the Doc Ock arms and the vulture wings. It's like, so we're not even doing villain origin stories anymore. We're just gonna have these guys, like, we already have the suits ready. We got to keep moving. You're a bad guy now. Go. And it's like, oh, like, that's really not a way to do it. And I think, as we'll talk about with the Tom Holland movies, that, you know, pros and cons and all, whatever, like, at least, like, it went back to basics. One villain. We, you know, like, we see the progression of this villain, you know, or whatever. So, yeah, it was just like such a mess. And we end with a pretty good scene, though. And I when the kid is from before with the wind turbine, like, you know, he misses Spider-Man. He puts the suit on to like confront Rhino, and Rhino's like, "Ooh, Spider-Man's back." And that stuff is pretty endearing. That almost got me to tear up a little bit. I was like, "Oh, that's cute." And like Spider-Man comes in, he's like, hey buddy, hey Spider-Man. He calls him Spider-Man. That's so cute. And you know, he's just like, go take care of your mom. I got this. And it's just like cool. It made me almost think I was watching a great movie at the end there. So he's Spider-Man again, and that's how we end the movie.
Yeah, I like that scene, but also like you should have saved it for. I mean, I know that there's not a third one, but you should have saved it for the third one, and where he's not Spider-Man and he doesn't want to be Spider-Man anymore.
And then we would have gotten a Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2 movie with Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker. That would have been interesting, like Spider-Man No More, but like in a different way, where like you actually see the step-by-step process of like, oh, this is why. Like we've had 2 movies now, like, okay, he made the selfish decision. He can't do this anymore because of that, something. Yeah. But in an effort to make a cinematic universe, we just never dealt with that. So now that there's no third movie, it's just so empty to me.
It is, and it makes it feel like
that's why we can't be doing this. That's why we can't like set up movies. We just have to make a movie first, and then when it's great, or if it's successful, then it's like great. We can do another one now, and maybe we can set up more future stuff down the line. And that way,
it just made it feel like he didn't care about Gwen. You know what I mean? It's like 5 months, and then you're over. Basically, I mean. It's your fault. It's your fault. I know that it was her choice or whatever, but it's your fucking fault. Let's be real, And it's like, 5 months. You've eliminated the Stacy family, like 2 of them. You've killed
two of them.
Yeah. How many Stacys have to die before you don't want to be Spider-Man anymore?
But that's the problem with the writing and the characterization of Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker. I think it's just too like cool, but also like not even that. It's more just like, I don't know. There's no like goodness in his heart kind of moments with him that I want. Really, once again, there are a few good moments that we've mentioned, but like as a whole. And let's just wrap it up now with just like our thoughts on Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. But yeah, I think like he's likable, especially in this one. I think he especially that kind of everyman kind of quality to him, where he's like, hey, you're my eyes and ears. Hey, buddy, don't worry. Thanks for helping out, Spider-Man, but it's all right. I got you. Go help your mom. I can figure this out. And it's like, oh, that's great. Like that's if they actually like explored that more and had more scenes like that. We would have had another great Spider-Man in our hands, another great live action Spider-Man. But instead, we have a great actor, a fantastic actor playing just a really muddled character because of the way these movies are. But I love Andrew Garfield, and I hope he, if he's in No Way Home, if he's somehow in that movie, then I hope he's great in it, and I hope they really highlight the strengths that he brought to the character of Peter Parker in hopefully a better movie. But there are things I like about this movie, and there are a lot of things I don't like about it. But like once again, like it's something I can pop on and be like, okay, like I grew up with this. Like there's things I can watch and be like, nice. So I think will forever be just like such a frustrating movie for me. But yeah, once again, Andrew Garfield, decent portrayal, but the potential is always there, and it was just never met. And that's why it's so disappointing. Even he thinks it's so disappointing that the way they did the movies, the way that it was just kind of taken away from him. So I hope if he's in No Way Home, that's kind of really satisfying, and it's like, oh, like he finally got to do what he wanted to do. So I hope that happens.
I also think that it'd be interesting if they went back and did an Amazing Spider-Man 3 set like years later, obviously, and dealing with that, because I think Patrick mentioned this in the last episode, where it was like, oh, it would have been interesting if Andrew Garfield played a more seasoned Spider-Man.
Right.
Because he looks like a more seasoned Spider-Man, but he's playing young. You know what I mean? So it would be interesting if they went back. But yeah, I think Andrew Garfield he's a good Spider-Man. I like him a lot. He's not Tobey Maguire, but in better movies, he probably could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was just a victim of bad circumstance because you have to follow Tobey Maguire, who did such a good job. And then with everything like Sony just tanking because they don't know how to handle the Spider-Man franchise and stuff like that. I think he did a very good job. I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 had the like one of, if not the best, like Spider-Man performances. Not Peter Parker, because again, like Nick said, he's too cool. He's too like laid back and chill in this particular franchise to be like a good Peter Parker.
And wishy-washy. And
wishy-washy. Yeah, of course. But like as like when he's Spider-Man, like he's in the costume, he's interacting with villains, the police, that kid, anybody. I think if it's not better than Tom Holland's Spider-Man performance in Homecoming, then this is the best Spider-Man on live action Spider-Man specifically performance. I think Andrew Garfield does a great job. I think they wrote Spider-Man really, really well, and Andrew nailed it. It just sucks that like everything else that went into that movie, they just try to do too much in such a limited amount of time, and he just fell victim to that. And that's not his fault because he did do a really, really good job.
Mm-hmm.
And like how Hunter said earlier, when Gwen bites it and he like takes his mask off, like he's still Spider-Man, but he's still Peter. And in that moment, he does a really good job playing both of those characters. It's Spider-Man's fault, and Spider-Man is Peter Parker. So in that moment, you see both of those characters bare their souls and be like, I did this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm responsible for this. I mourn this loss. This is what happened. You know, I think Andrew deserves more credit.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Perfectly said, Mouktar. So yeah, final ratings for Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'll go first, I guess.
Yeah, no, you go first because I got to think about this. Are we doing it out of 10?
Yeah, out of 10. That's what we do here. Honestly, I have trouble putting a number on this too, because there are things I like about this movie and there are things I hate about it. I can't say I hate the movie. I can't say I hate it, but I also can't be like, this is a good movie. So where do I land on this? I don't know. Like, I would probably give Amazing Spider-Man 1 a 3 out of 10 instead of a 4. I just really, especially after this one, I'm like, yeah, that last one really was dull, especially after watching this one. Because even though there are things that are worse in this movie, there are things that are so much better. So I think I'll give it a really, really generous 5. It's a very generous 5. I think it deserves a 4, but I think the stuff that I like, and once again, me and you, Mouktar, like we watched it so much as kids in high school, and you know, as messy as it is, and it's riddled with problems, like I have a soft spot for it, and it's frustrating, and I like how frustrating it's like, oh, like this and that, like it's such an interesting movie. So it's definitely not my least favorite Spider-Man movie. I think it's going to be Amazing Spider-Man for right now. That's my least favorite. So this one is a mess, but you know, there are things worth mentioning, and it's a very interesting superhero movie. So I give it a 5.
Yeah, I think it's not a great movie. I don't know if it's a good movie, but as I said before, I enjoy it. It's a mess. There's way too much going on, but I enjoy it, and I'll probably watch this again, like at some point in like the next year. Or even like in the next few months, I might throw it on just to be like, oh, this is fun and weird. But I think I got to give it a nice like 7 out of 10. Just for the pure reason of like, oh, this is enjoyable, and it has a little bit more of what I wanted from the first one.
That's fair. That's really fair. Amazing Spider, same like Nick. Like Amazing Spider-Man 1 is my least favorite Spider-Man film. It's just I really don't enjoy it at all. But Amazing Spider-Man 2, like it has like I was excited to watch it, and I was excited that I got like picked to talk about it, to come on here and like discuss it with y'all. Like I really do enjoy the film as much as I hate to say it. I'm like in the 6.5 out of 10 range, because it has like really strong moments that I really enjoy. And like when I opened it up today, I had started watching it at some point, and I was at the dubstep Itsy Bitsy Spider part, because like there are just moments in that movie that I could watch over and over and over again, and that moment is one of them. And they're like, I can't say that about a lot of movies. So like if it didn't have a couple key parts, like that part, like how Gwen bites it, that opening sequence of how like Spider-Man trying to balance life and being Spider-Man, it would be way lower. But because it has such these big shining moments throughout the film, I think 6.5 is where I'm going to sit. If it didn't have the dubstep part, 6. But because it does, 6.5.
That's fair. That's fair. No, I think you guys made brilliant points. I think we're all kind of on the same page with how we feel about it, actually, more or less. I mean, like 5 to 7 range, you know, it's like there are things to enjoy, but it's so messy. But like, you know, it's definitely unique. Which is why, once again, it's so much better than that other one, because that other one is just like, when is he going to be a hero? When's he going to be fun? And at least in this movie, warts and all, it's fun. And it's weird. It's so fucking dumb. But like, it's at least like fun. Like you like him as Spider-Man when he's Spider-Man, when he's Peter Parker, but Spider-Man, you know? So that's something worth noting. That's our Amazing Spider-Man 2 talk. Mouktar Aly, thank you so much for being such a special, such a wonderful guest.
Thank you for having me. This has been a blast. I absolutely love it here.
I wouldn't want to discuss this movie with anyone else besides you, Hunter, of course.
It's fine.
No, you said
it's
it.
Fine.
You said it. He should know.
Yeah. Know your place.
Yeah. Stick by
it. I am. I'm gonna do the opposite of Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker. I'm sticking by this.
Oh, good burn.
Well, maybe in the next movie you'll change your mind.
I'm sorry to tell you this, Hunter, but there's no Amazing Spider-Man 3.
What?
So Tom Holland is our next Spider-Man, and we're gonna be talking about Spider-Man Homecoming next week. Stay tuned for that. I think in that Homecoming review, we'll probably even talk about his little role in Captain America Civil War, because why not? I think that's be a fun little thing to do, because that is technically the beginning of his story. So,
well, I guess I'll have to watch Civil War now.
Well, at least watch his scenes, which is like 10 minutes.
Because I still haven't.
That's a long movie, so maybe just his part.
Yeah, apparently I've never seen Tom Holland as Spider-Man other than in the
Endgame and Infinity War.
Yeah. So
interesting.
We'll see.
I'm so intrigued to see what you think. So, yeah, we have been NYC Actors Talk Spider-Man. Our main show is NYC Actors Talk Film. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're anywhere you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram, NYC Actors Film Pod. We have a website, NYC Actors Talk Film. We have a YouTube channel where eventually we will do YouTube clipped versions of our episodes. And don't you know, I'm Electro.
God named Sprinkles?
Sprinkles!
What is that not the line?
Sparkles.
Damn it.
I like a god named Sprinkles so much more.
Yeah. Perfect.
You've changed it.
Bye, folks. Bye-bye.
Peace.